Hello everyone and welcome back to the One Stop Co-op Shop. We're going to start episode 2 of Legacy of Dragonholt. Now I have this up on the screen just so you guys remember our orc bard, because it has been a couple of days. So don't forget he has taken a little bit of a stamina hit. Here's all of his skills. And don't forget he is a stone-dwelling orc and he is a bard. Oh, and I almost forgot, we found this wooden trinket. Looks kind of cool. But without further ado, let's get back to the story. At the end of the last episode, we were trying to decide what we wanted to do. Did we want to ask Miriam about Eventide Forest, or ask her about how she met Braxton, or ask her about the gnomes? And everyone except for I think 2 people said that they wanted to know how they met each other. So we're going to go to 3686. Miriam starts laughing before she even begins her story about meeting Braxton.
Well, first of all, whatever Braxton tells you, I wasn't drunk,
says Miriam.
But we did both get thrown out of the same tavern together. It was a good night. I remember it rather differently,
says Braxton.
Well, that's because you're no fun.
Miriam winks at you.
You see, Braxton is a wet blanket, but she keeps following me around because secretly she knows that she would never do anything exciting if she didn't. Also, you pay me to keep you safe,
says Braxton.
Also that,
exclaims Miriam with a broad smile. If 2 or more time has passed, which it has, read entry 1096. Miriam lets out a long yawn, and you second the motion. As you nestle into your bedroll for the night, Braxton speaks up.
Best we don't all sleep at once. I'll take the first watch. Can I count on you to take the second?
You nod your head in agreement and drift off to sleep. One of you must volunteer to keep watch. Oh, hey, maybe that's me. Consider there's only one of us. Refresh your activation token if you... Okay, well, the rest of you exhaust your activation token. 2 time passes, and you each recover 2 stamina. We'll update our time tracker for 2 more time that's passed. It's kind of a lot. We only have 2 time left. I don't know if something else is going to happen at that point. I guess we'll find out. And we get to go up back to 16... for our stamina. Wow, that was terrible. I'm writing this sideways, you guys. Sorry. A 16. Sweet. You rouse from your slumber to gentle coaxing from Braxton.
Your turn at watch,
she says quietly. You rub your eyes for a moment and sit up, taking a drink from your canteens to wake yourself. You glance around camp at your fellow travelers. Braxton prepares her bedroll, lies down, and is quickly asleep. Miriam stirs for a moment, possibly awakened by the brief commotion, and rolls to her other side. A gentle silence takes hold of the clearing. Your journey to Dragonholt has been a long one, but now you are no more than a half-day's travel from your destination. The crack of burning branches from the campfire keeps you company as you keep watch. The moon is beginning to set, and you know the light of a new dawn will soon grace the forest clearing where you have made camp. Just then, you hear a rustling in the thick bush on one side of the camp and recall Braxton's warning about bandits. We could either watch for further movement or signs of danger, arm yourself and take a closer look, or wake your fellow traveling companions. I think what we're going to do is we're going to arm ourselves by grabbing our didgeridoo to take a closer look. So we're going to read entry 1654. You grab your didgeridoo and slip out of the camp, circling around toward where you heard the sound. As your eyes adjust to the darkness, you move silently from tree to tree and soon find yourself behind a small group of rough-looking people lurking in the bushes and watching your camp. Bandits! Mark story point X1. X1 is right here. I was wondering when we were going to meet those blasted bandits. There are 3 bandits directly in front of you, 2 men and a woman in torn and stained clothing and scraps of leather armor. The woman holds a strung bow across her knees as she crouches, while one of the men has a spear and the other a long knife in his hand. Wasn't someone on watch by the fire? Asks one of the men.
I don't see anyone there now,
says the woman. Quiet, says the other man. Wait for the signal. They clearly haven't noticed you. Just as clearly, they're intending to attack your traveling companions. So do we want to shout a warning to our traveling companions, draw your weapon and engage the bandits, or sneak up on the bandits and ambush them? But that one requires stealth, which, if you think of an orc, probably doesn't have. So we don't have that skill. I don't know about you guys, but this is an orc. He is a bard, but he has his didgeridoo, and he used to be a clan chief. I think he'd go and attack. I mean, he's probably thinking, these guys aren't going to be that tough. Let me go and just take them out. So we'll read 7686. You hurl yourself at the bandits, who are quite surprised by your sudden attack. You soon fell one enemy and wound another, bellowing your battle cry all the while. However, 3 more bandits appear and threaten to surround you, brandishing long knives and brutal cudgels in a deadly dance. You quickly retreat. If story point X1 is marked, which we just marked, read entry 9943. You shout a warning and rush back into the camp, hearing the bandits swear and move to follow you. We're supposed to wait for the signal, hisses one.
That was the signal,
Shouts the other. As you skid to a stop by the campfire, you see Braxton already on her feet with her shield in hand. Miriam is still staggering out of her tangling blanket.
What is it?
Grumbles Miriam.
What's going on? Bandits,
Rumbles Braxton, as a half-dozen of the desperate-looking figures run into the firelight, weapons held high. Read entry 4300. Uh-oh. Braxton hefts a heavy steel shield and slashes her longsword threateningly at one of the approaching bandits. Miriam produces 2 flasks and unstoppers one of them. A thick, acrid smoke pours from its open mouth as she holds it aloft, ready to throw. 3 of the bandits suddenly rush forward, charging the camp. Miriam hurls the smoking flask, which smashes against one of their bucklers. A billowing cloud of acidic fog erupts from the impact site. The bandit shrieks and flails, dropping his buckler to the ground as it dissolves. The 2 other bandits continue their charge. One swings an axe at Miriam, but Braxton catches the blade with her longsword and slams her shield into the man, sending him tumbling to the ground. The 3rd bandit dodges around Braxton and darts forward straight toward you, spear point trained at your chest. We could either try and dodge the attack, catch the spear and disarm the bandit. We could try and deflect the spear and counterattack, and we can do that because we have dueling as a skill. Or we could blast the bandit with a rune, but we can't do that one because we don't have arcane or runes. So I think we've got dueling. Let's deflect it. Let's show them what we can do with the didgeridoo. With instincts born of long training, you brace yourself, ready to parry the incoming thrust and counterattack. As long as you don't slip up, you can drop the bandit in a single attack. If you have agility skill or athletic skill, read 9608. Unfortunately, we don't have either one of those, so we have to read 5705. You swing your weapon to deflect the spear, but only manage to divert it from a killing blow to a piercing jab on your shoulder. Ugh! The spear point comes out black in the firelight, covered in your blood, and pain flares all along your arm. You lose 5 stamina. Good thing we have tons of stamina. That puts us down to 11. But you can see how the game balances out, right? If we had picked more skills, we might have picked that athletic skill, and then we probably would have been able to dodge that hit. But since we're an orc, we're a little too big, we weren't able to get around that spear, so we did take some damage. Ignoring the pain, you lunge forward and catch the bandit off guard. He attempts to block it with his spear, but you knock it aside and then follow up with a thrust that leaves the bandit bleeding in the grass. You step back, taking a moment to assess the situation. If story point H3 is marked, which on ours it's not, we actually will go and read 9513.
For Kalar and Harmon,
Bellows Braxton. In the flickering firelight, she seems a demon from a nightmare, huge and dark and powerful. 3 of the bandits attempt to surround her, but she pivots away, slamming her shield into one and knocking her down, then slashing it at a second and sending him screaming into the dark, clutching his face. She trades blows with a large man, his axe sliding off her shield, her sword flickering past his face as he dances backwards. You notice a bandit with his hair in a long braid creeping up behind Braxton with a knife glimmering in his hand. Focused as Braxton is on her battle with a large bandit, she clearly hasn't noticed. We can either intercept the approaching bandit, catch the bandit from behind, or stop the bandit with an alchemical concoction, which we can't do because we don't have alchemy. So what I think our orc is going to do is intercept the approaching bandit, because I don't think he could catch the bandit from behind because he is already a little bit wounded and he's kind of big, and I think that bandit would see him coming. So let's do 55-17. You leap forward and shout a challenge to the braid-wearing bandit, who spins and sneers at you with crooked teeth. The bandit brandishes a knife, and you begin to circle one another warily. "I'll gut you like a bloated fish!" he shrieks and hurls himself at you. His attack is clumsy, more passionate than skilled, and you soon see your opportunity. If you have brawling or dueling, we have both. Read entry 1938. You grab up a burning brand from the campfire, slinging it into the bandit's face. He howls, staggering back, and you rush in shoulder first to send him sprawling to the ground. You stomp your foot on the hand holding the knife, then kick the blade away into the shadows when it drops from his crooked fingers. Groaning and clutching at his burned face, the bandit begins crawling for the trees. It's not until you turn your attention elsewhere that you noticed you've burned your hand. You lose 2 stamina, then read entry 2004. Geez, we're getting hit hard. We're at 11 right now. 2 more means we're going to 9. Your companions are still locked in combat with the bandits who swarm around the edges of light provided by your campfire. Screaming incoherently, a scarred bandit rushes at you. In one hand, he brandishes a studded iron mace. The other arm ends in a steel hook, its metal glinting in the firelight. We can either rush forward to engage the bandit, brace yourself to receive the charge. We can't do that because we don't have military. Flee and attack at range. We don't have arcana, archery, or thievery. Or protect yourself with an alchemical mixture. Man, we should have been in alchemy, apparently. Can't do that one. So we really have one choice. 72-96. You leap into the fray, dodging around Braxton and another orc woman. You heft your weapon and swing at the hook-handed human threateningly. He drops into a wary crouch and circles you, looking for an opening. If you have awareness, dueling, or empathy, read entry 7076. We have dueling, so let's go to 7076. The bandit raises his mace and swings it at your head from the right. You recognize the attack for what it is, a feint, and duck under the swing, bringing your own weapon up to block the hook coming at you from the other direction. With a twist, you knock your opponent off balance, then lash out with your weapon. He screams again, still incoherent, and falls. Man, that didgeridoo's awesome. Read entry 2399. You find yourself standing in a loose circle with your companions and no bandits close at hand. Even more of the enemy emerge from the trees, however, and they begin to surround you.
What now?
Breathes Miriam. You're sure it's the first time that you've heard fear in her voice. The bandit's leader chuckles and speaks, causing the firelight to play off the long scar on the side of his face in a sinister way.
Drop your valuables and leave. There is no need for you to die here.
The other bandits hoot and howl and brandish their blades and axes in the air in front of you. Braxton glances sideways at you.
There are too many of them. We cannot win this fight.
She edges backwards, and you notice her lean in the direction of Dragonholt.
You can't have my gold. I'll be using it to start my business.
Hisses Miriam. Despite the bite in her words, you notice her hands trembling. We have 4 options here. We could fend off the bandits long enough for the others to escape, and we could do that because we have brawling and dueling. We could create a diversion and flee towards Dragonholt. We could do that one too because of performance. We could create a smoke screen. We can't do that because of alchemy. Or we could just turn our tail and run. I think Yurik would want to fend off the bandits long enough. I think it makes total sense. He's taken some wounds. He's kind of pissed off. Have you ever seen an orc when it's pissed off? He's not going to be doing diversions. No, he's going in and attacking. So let's read 6738. You tell your companions to run for it and spring forward, bringing the battle to the bandits. The ferocity of your attack catches the bandits off guard, and at first they fall back. You press the advantage, taking down a burly human woman with a pair of jagged knives and disarming a gnome man who attempts to dart in and slash your hamstrings. The bandits soon regroup, however, and their numbers begin to tell. You are swiftly pressed back, and it becomes clear you will be overwhelmed. Since your companions have already escaped, you turn and run for it as well. Read entry 3645. You run through Eventide Forest, scrambling and stumbling as you go. You're surprised to discover that you can see, and you realize that the sun must already be rising somewhere beyond the trees. Time passes. Well, that was an eventful time, wasn't it? Time 7? Jeez. The narrow and twisting path soon comes to a steep climb with a rocky outcropping that rises above on either side. A large standing stone towers to your right. You can hear the bandits still coming behind you, shouting to their fellows like hounds on the hunt, but any pursuer will have to scramble up this same narrow gulch. So we could tip over the standing stone to block the path, or we could fire with your bow from the high ground, but we don't have archery, so we can't do that. Or we could set a trap for the approaching bandits, but we don't have survival as a skill. So we're just going to be pushing the stone, which kind of makes sense as an orc. We'd take that stone and go, let's move it. Straining and grunting, you push against the standing stone, getting nowhere.
Together,
says Braxton, stepping forward and placing her shoulder to the rock. The stone grudgingly begins to give way, but the task is physically draining. If you do not have the athletics or endurance skill, lose 2 stamina. Well, we have endurance, so that means we don't lose any stamina. Yes! As the bandits come roaring up the gulch, you push as one, and the standing stone picks up alarming speed, falling with a crash that crushes several bandits while others skid to a stop. Read entry 5129. With the bandits preoccupied by your efforts back at the gulch, you are able to gain a considerable lead on them. The rocky terrain continues to rise up around you. The trees of Eventide Forest become smaller and scrappier as you go. Soon you come to a sheer cliff face, only a few scraggly trees clinging to the rocks rising above you. Sunlight spills across the sky above the cliff, a promise of freedom and safety. You could climb up to the top, but it would be a challenge. The path continues to the left a fair distance, then becomes a tight switchback crawling up on the top of the rise. It would be a safer route to the top, but slower than climbing directly. So we can either climb the cliff or run for the switchback path. Monica and I talked, and we feel like an orc would not be able to climb a sheer cliff face. So I think we're going to pick the run for the switchback path. We'll read 97:16. You sprint for the switchback trail, covering the distance in short order. Braxton swings Miriam over her shoulder without breaking stride. The gnome contents herself with a single squawk of protest. When you reach the bottom of the switchback, you are already out of breath. You each lose 2 stamina unless you have the endurance skill. We have the endurance skill, so we don't have to worry there. You start to climb, but haven't reached the first turning when the bandits emerge from the trees. Hollering like hounds on the scent, they rush after you. 2 of their number fall back, knocking arrows and launching them in your direction. You each lose 3 stamina unless you have agility. Yeah, we definitely don't have agility. 3 stamina hits hurts. We go from 9 down to 6. Ow. By the time you reach the top of the slope, your lungs and legs are burning and you're gasping for breath. But you can't rest now, the bandits are still too close behind you. We can either throw rocks at the bandits, return fire with your bow, but we don't have archery, block the path behind us, but we don't have awareness or survival, blast the path with runic magic. We don't have arcana or runes. So you know what? We're throwing rocks. 82:63. You and your companions gather rocks and begin to hurl them down at the bandits below. Some of your rocks impact on arms and heads, but even the ones that miss knock others loose from the rocky terrain, causing small cascades of scree and gravel to pelt and harass your pursuers. Driven back by a steady assault of stones, and probably just as tired as you are, the bandits turn back and retreat into the forest. You have escaped. Read entry 9999. That sounds like it could be the end. What do you guys think? As the sun climbs above the trees, you continue your journey toward Dragonholt. At your new elevation, the trees are smaller and farther apart, and at some point you've passed an invisible barrier where you are not in a forest so much as a rocky plain with occasional trees. Dragonholt lies below you, and you can see the beacon tower rising above the trees, the sun climbing the sky behind it. You have less than an hour of walking before you. Time passes. And there, my friends, is the final time. At length you walk through an orchard, the twisting trees heavy with fruit and propped up by weathered boards and poles. Then you find yourself on Dragonholt's main street, walking beneath the dueling dragon statues that serve as the closest thing to a city gate. One dragon is carved from black stone, the other from white, and they arch across the street above you, not quite touching.
Marvelous,
Breathes Braxton.
some sort of memorial of the Dragon Wars.
Says Miriam.
This way.
She says and skips down the cobbled street as if she hadn't been woken in the middle night by bandits. You cross a crowded village green that is laid out before a garden shrine with a domed glass ceiling. In front of the shrine stands a marble spire, atop which burns a beacon fire. Then you pass a building dark with soot and marred by broken windows. Miriam pauses at an intersection and peers down 2 side streets before nodding vigorously and leading the way south.
We'll get a proper breakfast as soon as we find my aunt's inn.
She says.
It's called the Swan. Does it have a lovely swan painted on its sign?
Asks Braxton.
Well, yes, it does.
Says Miriam.
Then, is that it? Just there?
She points and Miriam beams.
That's it! Let's go!
She rushes off in a fresh burst of energy, leaving you stumbling along behind. When you finally reach the Swan, you find Miriam babbling excitedly to a gnome who looks almost exactly like her, plus 20 years.
You must be Miriam's friends.
Says the older woman.
I'm Miriam's Aunt Sapphire.
She welcomes you inside, and you step down into a blessedly cool, half-sunken common room where a scattering of thick oak tables and sturdy chairs lie beneath rafters strung with herbs and root vegetables. Thick iron lanterns rest on each table, none lit now, and light streams in from tall windows against the south wall.
Please, have a seat.
Says your host, and you do.
We made it.
Says Braxton, dropping heavily into a chair that creaks under her weight.
I think I could sleep for a week. None of that.
Says Miriam.
We have work to do.
Braxton lifts her head and glares.
Starting tomorrow, I guess. Let's all take today off.
Miriam vanishes into a back room, then appears a few minutes later with a tray, rattling with glass bottles of red liquid.
Here.
She says and distributes the bottles.
It's the least I can do for helping me get here safely.
You gain 3 healing potions. Item A. Distribute these potions amongst yourself as you choose. Let's see. I think we want to give 1 to Yorick, 1 to Yorick, and 1 to Yorick. So here's the item card. You can see it has the A on the back. And it says, the liquid burns your throat like bitter fire, but quickly heals open wounds and broken bones. When you drink this potion, you recover half of your maximum stamina. So Monica's going to write down for me so you guys can read it. Healing potion, and then put 3 little lines for us so that we know that we've got our healing potions. And we've got 3 of them, which is really nice. Sapphire returns a moment later with a larger tray overflowing with plates of yellow eggs, loaves of dark brown bread, and a tall pitcher of milk.
I hope you'll stay at the Swan for as long as you like,
She says.
No charge, of course. Not after what you went through to get my Miriam here safely.
Miriam pours everyone a glass of milk. She holds hers aloft and exclaims,
To new roads.
Braxton takes a glass, holds it up, and looks from Miriam to Sapphire to you.
To new friends.
The meal is amazing. You soon collapse in rooms provided by your generous host. You doze through the majority of the day. After dinner, you rest in the common room, chatting idly with Braxton and another patron. Soon, the lack of good night's sleep is just too much, and you retire to your room. You will have to explore Dragonholt on the morrow. Well, I'm glad I didn't use one of those healing potions, because guess what? You each recover half of your maximum stamina, so we're going to gain 8 health. You each recover 1 skill. We didn't lose any. You each refresh your activation token. That doesn't matter. You each gain 1 experience. That's cool. Your fame increases by 1. That's doubly cool. And the quest is complete. Read entry 1001 in the Dragonholt Village book. We're going to go from 6 stamina all the way to 14. Yeah. And we just went from 2 fame to 3 fame. We also gained 1 experience. That was definitely an experience. You have now completed the To New Roads quest. You will no longer read any entries from this quest book. When you complete a quest, an effect will instruct you to read an entry from another quest book. You will continue the story in that quest book. Just after completing a quest is a great time to take a break. You might wish to stop playing for now and pick up from here at a later date. If so, record that entry number and book you have been directed to on the story tracking sheet so you can pick up where you left off the next time you play. And yeah, I'm going to follow them here. I'm going to call it for tonight. I want to know, do you guys want to see any more? Is this good enough? We could look at the village if you guys want to. I could do one more video. Monica and I had a blast reading this. It was way more fun than I thought it was going to be. So I'm really enjoying this, but I also don't want to keep doing this if you're not interested. So let me know. Just put some notes in the, put some comments below in this video. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode or just the next playthrough.